former UKIP and Brexit Party leader has revealed that he is weighing up a reported £1 million pay packet to appear in the jungle next month. Take a look.
Yes, I am giving it very, very serious consideration. Why? Well, I tell you what, you've got about 10 million young people who watch that programme. These are people who don't really watch the news or read newspapers, but they still care about the country they live in and about their futures. So in my mind, if I was to do it, I might be able to connect with that audience because, goodness me, they all watch I Am a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
If Farage went in, he'd be following in the footsteps of political figures such as Stanley Johnson and Nadine Dorries, who warned him actually to watch out for leeches in intimate parts. Jenny, what do you think? Would you be watching if Nigel Farage went into the jungle?
I think we've all had quite enough of Nigel Farage, or at least certainly I have had enough. And you know where to find him. If you hadn't had enough, you can go and watch his GB News programme, which is on every single night. He says he wants to reach young people. Well, why? He's not a politician anymore. It's not like he's recruiting people to vote for him. He just wants to be more famous, wants to inflate his brand.
He's a broadcaster.
He's a broadcaster.
It would benefit him to have more followers.
It would benefit him. I'm not sure it would benefit the country. It certainly wouldn't benefit me. I'm not going to be watching. He says that 10 million young people watch. I'm not sure all 10 million of them are young. He has a massive ego. He likes being watched. I think that's why he wants to go on, not for any broader political motive. I will not be tuning in.
Cristo, will you tune in?
I've no problem with him being on there. He's not a serving MP. I think that if I don't like it, I won't watch. I agree that it's utter nonsense that he's talking about going on for sort of this political integrity. No, it's £1 million. Let's be honest. And I would eat anything for a tenth of that. But within reason. But I think that I've no problem with him going in whatsoever. He's not Matt Hancock, who I had a huge problem going in.
Would it have you tuning in?
I'd watch it, I'd watch it to see it for a bit. And then if I got sort of quite riveted by it, I would, but I've no problem with him going in at all because I've always got the off switch if I don't want to. If they want to pay him £1 million to go in, good luck to him. OK, let's get the views now from an ex-I'm a Celeb contestant and former health minister. This is Edwina Curry. Edwina, thank you very much for joining us. Well, you're pretty much an expert in this field. What do you think about the suggestions that Nigel Farage is going into I'm a Celeb? Do you think this will be a good idea?
I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I've no doubt that a lot of people will watch, even if some of them are watching from behind the sofa, as we've just heard. People go in for all sorts of reasons. And I'm sure in Nigel's case, when he says he wants to win over large numbers of younger people to the idea of politics and to his idea of politics, I'm sure he means that. And he's absolutely right. What he'll find, as anybody with a big ego finds when they actually go in there, is that they don't set the agenda. And indeed, they don't control what's happening in the editorial suite. And what actually goes out, the narrative that goes out may be completely different. I mean, it may be very much in their interests. It may be exactly what they actually need. It'll be...
Oh, I think we've lost you there, Edwina. We'll try and get you back, Edwina, but it's very interesting when you hear that, he's a big ego and he might struggle with that. You just see that in reality TV shows. Now, I understand, Jenny, not a fan of Nigel Farage, but would you watch just to see him eat some unsavoury things?
No, you know what? I watch Matt Hancock eat some unsavoury things, and I didn't even find it that entertaining because it's the same thing every time. You talk about big egos. I was thinking about George Galloway pretending to be a cat.
Yes.
And he thought that he could, control the narrative a bit, and he ended up looking very silly. I'd be quite happy to watch the clips on social media of him looking silly. But
well, it's part of the difficulty, that, isn't it? Because, when you talk about George Galloway, he did look incredibly silly and didn't do particularly well on Big Brother. However, Matt Hancock did pretty well on I'm a Celeb. Yeah. Well, he embraced all the challenges, and although, he may have said a few things that people thought were genuine or not genuine, he did get quite far in the competition.
But people don't like him as a result of his appearance on it. For him, the benefit was the money. It's not like he's come out and everyone's like, oh yeah, we love him, we're going to buy his book. That did not happen.
But that's what he hoped for.
Yes,
that was what he hoped for. And I think that that's repellent, that as a serving MP, you do that we end up with
during a pandemic. It is so debasing.
Yeah, agree. But what I will say as well is we do need to remember that some people do hate watch as well.
Yes.
You know, that people love watching people that they hate and will tune in to see that.
And Nigel Farage, for sure, is a sort of Marmite character, isn't he? You either are a huge fan of him or you really don't like him, and either way, you might just be compelled to watch because of your views. Edwina, we've got you back. Now, the thing that I was interested in is obviously when you were in there, you get to speak to lots of different people that you wouldn't not normally be put in a room with or in a space with. And I wonder whether actually we might see Nigel Farage soften some of his views because of conversations that he might have with various campmates in there.
Well, you spend a lot of time sitting around waiting for something to happen. And it can get very boring indeed, unless you engage with the people that you're with, who are all in their own way interesting people. Now, if Farage actually asked nice questions like, what I was doing was things like, explain to me what garage music is, or to Michael Burke, tell me what Idi Amin was really like. And then I sit back and we get an hour's entertainment, most of which was never broadcast, of course. But if Farage can actually do that, it means that he's got to shut up. What he can't do is he can't control the narrative that is being put out there. If he comes across as a decent, honourable, helpful person, considerate of the others in the team, then I think he will do quite well. If he comes across as a bully and aggressive, then what will tend to happen is he gets voted to stay in to do more trials, to have more humiliation. And that, I think, for the rest of us could become very entertaining.
Well, you've probably got more experience of Nigel Farage than most. Do you think he's got a potential to win?
Anyone that goes in has a potential to win. And we have no idea how it's going to play out until it is broadcast. The most attractive characters, when they get in there, they might be peevish, they might be missing their phones, missing their families too much. And in the end, they really fade away. The strong and quirky characters often do extremely well. And it depends how he does in the various trials. I mean, if he shows some kind of guts and persistence and intelligence, then yes, I think he might very well win. What you'll find afterwards is it is recognised by 10-year-old boys. That's not quite the voter lot that I think he's after. They may be a little
the younger
bit too
generation,
young.
I suppose. Edwina, just a final question for you. Out of all the trials, which trial would you particularly be interested in seeing Nigel do?
I think we all want to see him eating something horrible, faced with something absolutely disgusting, where he wrinkles his nose and still forces himself to oblige. Because you know what? Because other people will suffer if he doesn't. Now, that would be interesting.
Oh, that would be interesting. Always the eating challenge
for him,
people want people to see.
you could give him a European dish.
Well, that's what
it could be snails or frogs, and he'd be horrified by it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that horrific. Edwina, thank you very much for joining us, Edwina Curry there. Let's go to calls now. Sharon from West Yorkshire, would you like to see Nigel Farage on ITV, on I'm a Celeb?
I certainly would.
And why?
Well, I've been a massive fan of the programme since it started, and the people that make the programme are the ones that you can't stand, the ones that have been a big I am and think they are something, and then come on and you see them warts and all, and you realise that, yeah, they are human, but it'd be nice to see the turtle eating some snails and mealworms.
Did you watch Matt Hancock last year?
Yes, I did. I watched it. I always watch it.
How do you feel he came across?
I didn't think he achieved what he set out to achieve. He was still... It was too close to COVID. He was never going to be anybody's favourite, and I don't think he did any favours for himself, to be honest. I enjoyed watching him.
Will you be voting Nigel Farage to do all the trials?
Oh, yes, you are. I've already got the app ready.
I think people are very excited about the show, Sharon. Thank you very much for your call. Bill from Belfast, will you be watching if Nigel Farage takes the £1 million?
I'm afraid I won't be, because listening to his little political speech that you played, will I or won't I go on it? And he's worried about the voters, young voters. Of course the man's going on it. It's £1 million. He has made his mind up already. So he started to tell lies even before he gets there. And as far as eating something bad, he does talk a lot of bad stuff too. So I will not be watching. No.
Do you think, though, Bill, what we might see is a more human side of Nigel Farage in a show like this, and actually putting him in a situation where he has to come face to face with people that he might not normally day to day, maybe quite confronting for him and a very interesting watch for people to be able to see?
A more human side with Nigel. Yes, I'm sure he'll bring that across in a big way. No. Again, he's after Mr. Farage loves Mr. Farage. That's it.
But do you know what? He has a huge amount of fans who also love Mr. Farage, who will probably be watching if he does indeed take the apparent 1 million. We don't know that for sure, but it's suggested. Bill, thank you very much. I wonder whether he'll be as generous as Matt Hancock and give 3% to charity.
A whole 3%.
He said he gave some to charity. Forgot to mention it was 3%. Kathleen from North Yorkshire, will you be watching if Nigel Farage appears in the jungle?
Well, I will if he does, because I like him, and I don't think he tells lies.
Well, Bill's just accused him of lying by saying that he's considering it and not saying that he's absolutely going to do it. Because, I mean, who would refuse £1 million?
Well, they all do it for the money, don't they? They don't do it for anything else. They would go eating those horrible things.
Well, some people do it because they want to... They want to change people's view of them. A lot of people, celebrities, do it for that. Do you think that it would do wonders for his popularity, Kathleen, if he went on? Do you think more people would get to know him and get to like him?
No, perhaps. Well, I hope they get to like him. I like him.
And why do you think he'd be particularly good on it?
I don't. Because he'd just be himself, and if you like him, well, that's what you want.
Yeah, I know, but some people would be better in the jungle than others. But you clearly think that Nigel Farage would be great. But what do you think? He's tenacious? Do you think he's a team player? Do you think what characteristics does he have that you think will do him good in the jungle?
He's just straightforward, isn't he? So I don't know. I don't know whether he'd be good or bad. I mean, they all do it for the money, so I don't know. Well, perhaps he wants to get a message across and. Hopefully do that.
Well, what he wants to do certainly is get some younger viewers and some younger voters and potentially some viewers of his show.
He has his own TV show to get his message across. He doesn't have to... He's doing it for the money. We should be encouraging him by watching it. Come on, guys.
I think it's a great booking. If I was a producer, I would be upping it to 2 million. But I would also put him in with some really, really woke pro-EU lefties in order to wind him up. Because otherwise, if it's with a load of people he agrees with, it wouldn't be as compelling television.
And do you think he could be wound up?
I think so. I think so. If they're all worrying about sort of their language and being careful about what they say, and if there are all those ridiculous petty arguments.
This is the other thing: is Nigel Farage is being criticised for his fragrant language, for his, difficult language. Is that something that we need more of on screen? I mean, Suella Braverman has been criticised as well, and that's in politics. This would be in primetime television. Do you see any issue with that?
If they combine him with people who'll call him out on it, then yes, because then that's also good television.
OK. Lots of messages on Facebook and Twitter. Adrian on Facebook says, I would much prefer he was in Downing Street. This country needs some backbone. Well, he has threatened to go back into politics and sort out this Tory government, although we haven't seen that. Mark on Twitter says, if only he's paid minimum working wage for his time and has to endure horrendous conditions and activities that make him really suffer. Well, I think the latter is probably true. I think the former and the minimum wages probably not, by the sounds of things.
I just want to say, I think this whole narrative that he's a winner and that people want to vote for him, we forget the fact that he ran to be an MP 6 times and didn't win.
But then he was one of the leaders when it came to Brexit.
He was but he wasn't the leader. And it's he's managed. He's very clever and managed to spin this narrative that everybody loves him and that he's a massive winner. He isn't a massive winner, and I don't think he'd win either.
Well, then why doesn't he do it for minimum wage then? I mean, if what he's saying is like that he's doing it for integrity, which I'm pro him doing it, but I don't believe that for a second. Do it for free.
Interesting. Well,
Nigel
Farage,
if you're watching,
then perhaps you should do it for free.